I cannot do anything better than the old masters did. When they ask me, do you still like the old masters? I say, I think they're wonderful. But my only justification is I do something different. You ask the old masters what they think of my things, it may be much more interesting.
Unique, provocative, Man Ray was an innovative American modernist. A photographer, a painter, an object maker, and an avant-garde filmmaker.
Look, they say that I'm ahead of the times, too. I said, no, I'm never, I'm of my time. It's the others who are behind the times.
He achieved fame with his portraits of the legendary icons of 1920s Paris: Igor Stravinsky, Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway, and Pablo Picasso. He had love affairs with some of the most exotic women of his day: Kiki of Montparnasse and the elegant, talented Lee Miller. A man of amusing, ironic contradictions, he presented many faces to the world.
Were you ever conscious of creating art?
I never think about art. And I don't think the old masters ever thought that they were creating art. They had to express the spirit of their times. They would start to invent. And those were the surrealists of their time. Every period had its surrealists. What seem to be the tricks of today will be the truths of tomorrow. I used to tell my pupils, when they ask you, how do you become original? It's easy. I say, just be yourself, and you will be original.
Man Ray's life spanned most of the 20th century. During his productive years, he was on the leading edge of the avant-garde in a variety of media. To most people who knew him, his past was a mystery.
People ask me today, where were you born? Where were you born? But I said, look, everything is in books now. Don't ask me questions you can find in books. You're just too lazy. Well, I'm lazy too, and I won't answer you. I said, you asked me where I was born? It's so long ago, I don't remember.
But the records tell a different story. Man Ray was born Emanuel Rudnitsky in 1890 and grew up in the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn. His father, Melach Rudnitsky, was a tailor, an immigrant from Russia. His wife, Manya, gave birth to 4 children. Her eldest son she named Emmanuel. From the beginning, he was curious and bright. From his earliest years, Emmanuel showed a desire to create art. After his bar mitzvah in 1904, he entered Boys High School in Brooklyn, where, although a mediocre student, he distinguished himself with his artwork. These pen and ink drawings from his graduation yearbook bear his signature. In his sketch of a violin are elements which would reappear as motifs in his future work. It conjured up Rudnitsky family musicales at home, with father on violin, accompanied by Emmanuel on guitar. Against his family's wishes, Man Ray decided not to go to college, but rather to seek his future in art. He scandalized his family by bringing a nude model into his home studio, and the pressures on him intensified. Emanuel Rudnitsky decided to change his name to Man Ray, separate himself from his past, and find fulfillment as an artist. He took an apartment in Manhattan, quickly adapting to the city's dynamic scene.
And I have a very good technical training. My youth was spent making a living working in offices of publishers, of atlases, encyclopedias. I had to make drawings of everything from anatomy to machinery. And I became very expert as a draftsman.
From his earliest years, Man Ray gravitated toward the center of cultural action. The fiery Emma Goldman founded the art school which Man Ray attended. Her anarchist views seized his imagination, and Man Ray's political cartoons adorned the covers of several issues of Goldman's magazine, Mother Earth. At 291 Fifth Avenue, the gallery of Alfred Stieglitz, Man Ray met one of the most influential men in his life. Stieglitz, master of photography and passionate art dealer, promoted new ideas in painting. He shaped Man Ray's attitudes towards art and photography. Man Ray later painted this homage to his mentor.
I was a painter before I did photography. I did photography for a special reason. I wanted to photograph my own works. And I couldn't find a good commercial photographer. So I bought a camera and began to photograph my own works.
In 1913, the Armory Show bursts upon New York, bringing controversial publicity to the new wave of European paintings by Cézanne, Picasso, Braque, and others. At the center of the storm was Marcel Duchamp's Nude Descending a Staircase, scorned by critics as resembling an explosion in a shingle factory. Man Ray, inspired by the show, incorporated new forms into his work. He painted War, 1914, in the Cubist manner, and the woods in an expressionist style. The study of the countryside around Ridgefield, New Jersey, in the technique of Cézanne, reflected an important move in Man Ray's life. Renting the small house in Ridgefield, he joined a rural community of like-minded painters and writers seeking to practice their art undisturbed. Here Man Ray met and married the Belgian poet Adon Lacroix. She shared with him her passion for French literature, opening his eyes to a new world of ideas. The couple were romanticized in a newspaper article celebrating their lives as talented, starving artists. On their own, Adon and Man Ray published a homemade revolutionary tract, the Ridgefield Gazook. A casual visit by Marcel Duchamp, creator of Nude Descending a Staircase, marked the beginning of a lifelong friendship.
In 1915, when Duchamp came to America, he came out to my little house. He didn't speak a word of English, I didn't speak a word of French, but we understood each other. He showed me some of his early work, you know. Ah, that's a man of my feeling.
Tiring of country life, and with money from the sale of a few paintings, Man Ray returned to New York. Differences with Adon led to a permanent separation. Man Ray took a little apartment in Greenwich Village and continued painting. An artistic cataclysm in Europe would soon interrupt the course of his work. Dada started in Zurich in 1916. Disgusted by the carnage of World War I, free thinkers such as Tristan Tzara thumbed their noses at tradition. Expressing artistic anarchy, they sought to liberate art from restricting notions of form. The Dadaists created an entirely new art for their modern age. At that moment, Marcel Duchamp returned to New York. Man Ray and other intrepid artists formed the nucleus of a group dedicated to promoting Dada. In a cartoon of the time, the two comrades were depicted enjoying their mania for chess. The subversive duo came up with a variety of Dada pieces. Duchamp submitted a urinal,